The human body's core temperature must remain above 95 degrees Fahrenheit to avoid severe hypothermia. In extreme cold, the body prioritizes blood flow to vital organs, reducing circulation to extremities. Shivering generates heat through rapid muscle contractions, but this depletes energy reserves quickly. The claim of generating body heat through mental focus relates to documented cases of meditation affecting metabolism. Melting ice for water requires significant energy transfer, as ice's high latent heat demands substantial warmth to change state. Survival in sub-zero conditions typically involves insulation, shelter, and conserving existing body heat rather than generating new heat. Documented cold water immersion studies show humans can survive longer through controlled breathing and mental calm. The extreme nature of this account places it among rare cases where reported survival methods challenge conventional physiological understanding. Alpine environments present unique survival challenges due to extreme cold, high altitude, and isolation. Glacial regions combine sub-zero temperatures with treacherous, constantly shifting terrain. The human body's core temperature must remain near 37 degrees Celsius to prevent hypothermia, which can set in rapidly in freezing conditions. In cold exposure, the body prioritizes blood flow to vital organs, reducing circulation to limbs. This physiological response, while protective, increases risk of frostbite in extremities within minutes. Survival in such environments depends on preparation, proper equipment, and understanding environmental risks. Remote alpine areas lack immediate rescue resources, making self-reliance critical during emergencies. These incidents demonstrate how human physiology interacts with extreme environmental physics. Glaciers are not static monuments, but dynamic, living ice sheets that constantly shift and fracture under their own immense weight. This movement creates deep, hidden fissures known as crevasses, which can extend hundreds of feet down into the ice. These dangerous openings are often concealed by fragile snow bridges, thin layers of accumulated snow that form a deceptive, unstable roof. For climbers and backcountry travelers, an unexpected fall into a crevasse represents one of the most significant and immediate risks in glacial environments. The individual involved was an experienced outdoorsman, thoroughly familiar with this type of treacherous terrain. This fact underscores a critical principle in extreme environments. Expertise and preparation can substantially reduce risk, but they never eliminate it entirely. The inherent unpredictability of natural systems means that calculated risk is always present, regardless of skill level. The accident occurred when an individual was traversing a glacier and the snow beneath them collapsed. This type of collapse is often caused by hidden weaknesses in the ice structure known as crevasses. Crevasses form due to glacier movement and can be concealed by thin snow bridges. These snow bridges can appear solid but may collapse under minimal weight. Glacier travel requires specialized equipment and knowledge to detect such hazards. Similar incidents have occurred in various glacial regions worldwide under comparable conditions. The physics involves snow density, temperature variations, and stress fractures in the ice. This demonstrates how seemingly stable environments can contain concealed structural weaknesses. The fall into the crevasse was a catastrophic event, with the victim plummeting dozens of meters through a narrow opening in the glacier. The impact on the ice shelf below caused significant blunt force trauma, resulting in fractures and internal injuries. This type of ice shelf is often formed by snow accumulation or shifting glacial plates, creating unstable platforms. Standard survival gear, including communication devices, first aid kits, and climbing equipment, was either damaged or inaccessible after the fall. The isolation was absolute, with the victim trapped in a natural ice prison far from any established rescue routes. In such environments, hypothermia becomes a critical threat within hours, even with protective clothing. The mechanics of crevasse falls often involve hidden weaknesses in snow bridges or cornices that collapse under weight. This scenario represents one of the most challenging survival situations, combining physical injury, environmental hazards, and complete isolation. The immediate threat inside a crevasse is the near constant freezing temperature, often well below zero. This extreme cold creates an environment where hypothermia becomes the primary danger. Hypothermia is the rapid loss of body heat, which can occur much faster in these conditions than in typical cold environments. The body's core temperature can drop to critical levels within hours, impairing cognitive function and motor skills. Dehydration presents a secondary but equally dangerous threat in these frozen environments. The body requires more fluids in cold conditions to maintain metabolic functions, yet water sources are frozen solid. These combined threats create a survival window measured in hours rather than days. The crevasse environment offers no natural shelter from the elements, accelerating both thermal and fluid loss. The survivor's account presents a physiological paradox. Obtaining liquid water in freezing conditions without a heat source is impossible, as ice cannot melt without energy input. This contradicts basic thermodynamics, where phase change from solid to liquid requires sufficient thermal energy to overcome the latent heat of fusion. The third element of the claim involves an unusual survival strategy: entering a deep state of focused meditation or mental concentration. While meditation can reduce perceived stress and conserve some energy, it cannot replace the body's fundamental requirements for warmth and hydration in extreme cold. In survival situations, Documented methods for obtaining water include melting ice with body heat, sunlight, or friction, not through mental focus alone. The combination of these claims, surviving without liquid water and relying solely on meditation, deviates significantly from established survival protocols. Such narratives often emerge in accounts where physical evidence is scarce, leaving room for extraordinary explanations. Analyzing these details reveals inconsistencies that challenge the veracity of the survival story as presented. The claim suggests that through a specific practice, he was able to elevate his core body temperature sufficiently to press bare skin against an ice wall. This contact allegedly melted small amounts of ice, providing hydration to drink. Such hydration would be critical for survival in extreme cold environments, where dehydration accelerates hypothermia. This provided the means to stay alive until a rescue party, alerted by his overdue status, could locate him. The segment from 4 o'clock to 6:30 focuses on the limits and misconceptions surrounding this event. It is crucial to separate the verified outcome, survival and rescue, from the debated physiological method. The core debate centers on whether the human body can generate enough heat through will or technique to melt ice for water in a survival scenario. Experts often compare this to documented survival techniques, noting the extreme energy expenditure and risk of accelerated heat loss. The verified facts are clear. A fall occurred, followed by 3 days of entrapment, a successful rescue, and medical treatment for exposure and injury. Medical records confirm treatment for hypothermia and physical trauma, consistent with a prolonged survival scenario in harsh conditions. The mechanism of survival, specifically the conscious generation of significant metabolic heat through meditation, is not a widely documented phenomenon in survival medicine. While meditation is known to reduce stress and conserve energy, its ability to produce substantial metabolic heat remains scientifically unverified in extreme survival contexts. Standard survival protocols emphasize insulation, shelter, and conserving existing body heat rather than generating new heat through mental techniques. Comparisons can be made to documented cases where survivors entered states of reduced metabolic activity, but these differ from active heat generation claims. The scientific community lacks peer-reviewed studies confirming that meditation alone can produce enough heat to prevent hypothermia in sub-freezing conditions. What remains unknown is whether this reported mechanism represents an undocumented physiological phenomenon or a misinterpretation of survival factors. Medical experts emphasize that the body's survival reactions in extreme cold involve complex physiological processes. Vasoconstriction is one key response, where blood vessels narrow to reduce heat loss from the skin surface. Simultaneously, shivering thermogenesis generates heat through rapid muscle contractions. The body prioritizes core organ function, redirecting blood flow and resources to vital systems. These mechanisms represent the body's emergency protocols when facing hypothermic conditions. Without precise physiological data from the event, understanding the exact sequence remains challenging. The interplay between these survival responses determines outcomes in extreme cold exposure scenarios. The concept of mind over matter, generating heat, is often a subjective interpretation of intense autonomic nervous system responses. This phenomenon connects to documented practices like Tummo meditation from certain Tibetan Buddhist traditions. Tummo techniques are reported to influence core body temperature through controlled breathing and visualization methods. However, replicating these effects under controlled, life-threatening conditions lacks established scientific validation. A major misconception arises when framing this as a supernatural, superpower, rather than a physiological phenomenon. This framing misses practical lessons about human physiological adaptability and mind-body connections. The reality involves understanding how extreme mental focus can trigger measurable physiological responses. These responses operate within known biological parameters rather than supernatural realms. The survivor's mental fortitude was a critical factor, allowing him to maintain composure and make rational decisions despite extreme conditions. His knowledge to stay still conserved vital energy, preventing unnecessary exertion that could have accelerated hypothermia. The insulation from his clothing and the ice cave itself provided a thermal barrier, slowing heat loss in sub-zero temperatures. A critical element of luck involves stable weather and a secure ice shelf, which prevented additional hazards like avalanches or collapses. This case demonstrates that the human mind is the most vital survival equipment, enabling endurance through preparation and adaptability. It highlights actionable principles for remote ventures: mental resilience, energy conservation, proper insulation, and environmental awareness. The principle of filing a detailed trip plan is a standard safety protocol in wilderness and adventure activities. This protocol creates a documented timeline and route, which becomes critical information if a person fails to return as scheduled. The reliable contact serves as an external checkpoint, initiating search procedures when the expected check-in is missed. This mechanism is similar to a dead man switch in operational security, where inaction triggers a predefined response. Without this documented plan, search efforts lack a starting point, significantly delaying rescue and reducing survival odds. The practice is mandated for many professional guides and is a core recommendation in survival training manuals. It transforms a personal outing into a monitored operation, where someone else holds the key to initiating rescue. In high-pressure fraud scenarios, psychological resilience becomes a critical survival tool. The ability to manage panic and rationally assess options directly impacts outcomes in financial deception cases. Maintaining hope and clear thinking can prevent victims from making desperate, costly decisions. Techniques like controlled breathing help conserve mental energy and sharpen focus during stressful investigations. Meditation practices can improve decision-making clarity when navigating complex fraudulent schemes. While the direct measurable effects of these techniques may be debated, their practical benefits in crisis management are documented. This mental preparedness parallels survival strategies in extreme environments, applied here to financial deception scenarios. The psychological mechanisms involved mirror those studied in high-stakes negotiation and crisis response situations. This principle applies directly to survival frauds, where basic needs are exploited. Scammers often target desperation, presenting schemes as essential solutions. The quest for water mirrors the search for financial security in deceptive schemes. In survival, neglecting fundamentals leads to collapse. In fraud, ignoring basics enables deception. This pattern appears in many scams. They promise to fulfill a primary need but deliver nothing. Just as water is non-negotiable for life, due diligence is non-negotiable for financial safety. This documented survival demonstrates human resilience under extreme duress. In severe circumstances, the distinction between known physiological processes and extraordinary willpower becomes critical. This combination can form the only thread holding a life intact when pushed to absolute limits. The human body's complexity allows it to adapt to extreme conditions through various mechanisms. Preparation provides the foundation, while the will to live activates survival responses. This interplay between physiology and psychology has been observed in documented survival cases. The true lesson is to never underestimate this powerful combination when facing extreme challenges.